questions that we want to be sure to get to?
I don't have a question per se, but I thought it was timely now that we're heading into Advent. I get several newsletters from the online stuff from the Episcopal Church. And I was just reading a couple days ago that the Episcopal Church has an Advent study program geared for young adults. And I should have brought the website, but I can email it to you. Because I'm, with my kids in that age room, I kind of look out for what's going on for youth and young adults.
That sounds like a great resource. Other questions?
Just for the young adults that are here, you guys are clearly involved at your parish level, and I highly recommend that you guys go for vestry positions, take leadership positions at your parish level. I mean, I was at diocesan convention as a delegate for my parish, and I was probably the youngest delegate and the only young adult delegate from the diocese. So I highly recommend to seek those vestry positions.
Absolutely, get involved so that they hear your voice. Represent.
That's right, that's right. The only other point of business, I think we should just look at the flip chart really quick to be sure we met your needs here. Is that okay to do this real quick?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes.
So be in position to attract young adults, hope to encourage youth and young adults to church and participate. So as far as attracting, one of the things that came to mind for me was I know that we have several people that when they were in the youth group, they went to Canuga, and now they're on Canuga staff as young adults. And I know my own son doesn't go to church at college, but he's on staff at Canuga, and he's really involved with that whole community. And so now when he comes home, he'll come to church. But that's just one idea, is Canuga, but I know there's a million other ways other than what we've talked about. Is there any other? Did we answer this
I don't know. I know I recently preached, and it was right around the Thanksgiving holiday when a lot of the young adults came home, and it just so happened I was talking about Facebook and some things, and Twitter and some other things, and some really relevant things. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, "I loved your sermon because it spoke to me in my age. You spoke about things that I understand. Most of the time, I go and I hear these sermons and they're not relevant. They're not talking about what's going on in the world, And so my point being there is part of being in leadership in your church is that you can make sure your voice is heard, that they're preaching relevant stuff to the folks that you want to attract. I mean, if you're preaching stuff that's not relevant to them, guess what? They're not going to come. So that would be another thing. Clearly, engaging them visually, and just, to me, a lot of it's just being genuine and sitting down and having a conversation and making sure that their voices are being heard.
Yeah,
and that you're open to bringing those thoughts into whether if it's not the main worship, an alternative worship or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, addressing that woundedness, I think, because I think so many people have either stepped away from the church or have never been engaged in a particular church since their childhood. It is that spiritual woundedness, So we all have transformation through pain, and I think creating a space that's safe, that's comfortable, that's okay to say the things and ask the questions that maybe people are afraid to ask in other places. I think that's essential, and the authenticity of that, absolutely.
Yep, that answer somewhat. Activities,
Hold on,
I think.
Michael has something.
Oh,
I just want to mention real quick, just from the diocesan leadership, that there's a lot that young adults are doing on the national level and provincial level. There's a provincial young adult summit in Atlanta every year. We sent one person, I think, at the last summit, so we're looking to bring people to continue that. And then there's an event coming up that's the Young Adult Leaders of Color, which is an internship and sort of a scholarship kind of thing that you'll go out to New York, I believe it is, and you can sign up for the Young Adult newsletter that you'll get emails it's like every other month, and they'll update you on what's going on that level. And also December 15th is our Young Adult Summit, which is gathering together all the young adults of the diocese. and sort of planning ahead what we're going to do for the next year. Last year, we went to Passion Weekend, which is 45,000 young adults gathered together in the Georgia Dome, and as Susie went. And so there's a lot that's going on. And so at your parish level, that we want to bring you up to the diocesan level, that we can even go to the provincial, national, and kind of really just make this movement bigger and bigger and bigger and better. So just keep an eye out for that.
Well, yeah, I'd like to re-emphasize what David was saying about vestry. Is it David? Daniel? About getting in your own local, the vestry.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and again, at that diocesan level, I think hopefully people in this room will want to show up at that meeting, and then we're going to, I think there's going to be another meeting in January further up north for people that can't make the other one. But just getting involved and engaged and again, just because you're here, being in this room already puts you in a position of, in some way, engagement and leadership and community, so hopefully you can engage at the diocese level.
Did you say there's going to be another Young Adult Summit meeting up north?
Well, yeah, in this, we're going to, I think at St. Paul's in January. There's going to be one December 15th at, where is it? All Souls, yeah, in Miami Beach.
2 p.m. at All Souls on December 15th.
Yes.
Is that right?
And then again, and then something in January for those that can't make it. So, but I'm going to get all the email addresses. So I keep everybody.
Our diocese is very large, so providing opportunities for folks to meet and network, and I'll say St. Gregory's is always a good place because it's sort of middle road from all the people that come north and at least Broward County. I know it may be far for some Dade people, but it tends to host a lot of folks in the diocese. So look at it as another option if you ever need to use it. So
I think we touched on why do high school youth leave and what will bring them back and get them back into active ministry. I think we talked about involvement. The other way is to ask them to do something in the service itself. Like we have the prayer leaders, if you have a service that's geared more toward that age group, go to the person in that age group and say, would you consider being a prayer leader? Would you consider being a chalice bearer? Would you consider, being an usher or a greeter so that they're who you see at the door? And then they come back. What works and does not work, I think we touched on that. Is there more we need to say about that? No? Yes? Growth, resources, 20s and 30s versus young adults, we touched on that. College students looking to connect and help others connect. College students looking to connect and help others connect.
yeah, so at college they want to connect, but also get other people in their age group to connect. So, I think we touched on it. There's definitely campus ministries you can tap into. There's resources now at the diocese level you can tap into. You heard a lot of the stuff that we said around just getting the folks that are in college in your church just together to talk, over a meal, and then try to bring a friend. And if you listen to each of us, it all sort of grew organically, and it takes time. You've been doing it for a couple of years now. You've been doing it for a couple of years, so it takes time to get those numbers. Just be prepared. It takes time.
Everybody
7
shows up.
years before I came, and now it's been another year. So it takes time.
And like you were saying, your email, our email list is 50 people, but we have usually between 10 to 15 that show up at Seekers, at maximum 20, maybe 23. That's been when the most people have come. But it's not going to always be all the people all the time, and it doesn't mean the program's not necessarily working. It just means that it's the demographic of people that are just really, really busy with all kinds of things in life.
All right, so just to summarize. Go ahead, Wendy, you're first.
This age group wants 3 things, and this is what studies have shown. They want transforming worship. They want a more transforming encounter with God. They do not want to come and just sit and have it be static, especially in our common prayer and our worship and our engagement with Scripture. And that doesn't mean we have to go outside of our Episcopal traditions and liturgy. There's ways to be creative. Just Google it, and you'll get 100 million sites.
The second one is service. In this age group, they are very oriented to doing service work and walking the walk. So use that. I don't know about you guys, but we have so many outreach ministries here at St. Gregory's. They want to do justice and they want to love mercy. So you have to make sure that service is a component of your young adult ministry.
And personal spiritual practices. So like when we're talking about these formational things like Vocare or like the spiritual retreat for in the summer. These places and spaces where people can also grow in their faith and intimacy with God at that personal level that makes it deeply resonant, which also, you know, the elements of the sacraments, and there are just so many ways to connect the deepness of that level and the walk humbly with our God.
And I just want to say one more thing about those personal disciplines. To teach people about Bible study, for instance, to teach them to have a designated place in their home where they can pray, to teach them about centering prayer, to teach them about Lectio Divina, some of these ancient traditional contemplative practices are still vital and satisfy a longing and a hunger. So there's a long list of spiritual practices that can be tapped into.
Bottom line, don't be afraid to try something new, because otherwise that's what will happen. And if you see some of the growing, vibrant churches nowadays, they're trying new things. They're doing emergent worship. They're doing stuff in these micro communities, sort of building up and doing these smaller meals and worship. And so check it out, because there's some real transforming things happening in that area.
Yeah, and all the books in the bibliography back there are a great starting point for all of that.
Well, what did you think? This was wonderful. Thank you so much to our presenters, Wendy, Teresa, Angie. This has been a great day, and we want you all to know how much we appreciate. I hope we can take this on the road. This was really good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But while we have all of you together, we are going to disseminate the emails. We're going to, hopefully, you might even want to start a Google group. And there's so much information here that I know none of us could take it all in. So hopefully we can start to communicate with each other and start to build this. And please feel free to use Episcopal Charities as your service arm as well, and to go visit some of these other services. They sound just absolutely wonderful. So again, thank you so much.
Together, let us pray. Dear God, we ask you to give us the ability to know that we don't always know. We ask you for the patience to wait for answers that can take a lifetime to find. We ask you for the humility to seek wisdom, not just in ourselves, but in others. We ask for the courage to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. Amen.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.